Welcome back to AnimeVerse Recap. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Today we're diving into the Wano arc, covering episodes 903 to 910. Luffy continues adapting to life in Wano, helping its people and clashing with Orochi's forces while gaining new allies. Let's get started. Episode 903. Orochimaru holds the highest rank of professional sumo wrestler called Yokozuna, and Luffy is the new challenger. Using his agility and small body, Luffy continuously dodges and weaves around. The two sides push and shove back and forth. The Straw Hat is almost thrown off the field. Luckily, he used his hands to grab the ground and jumped back before hitting the ground. After a while, Luffy used his arm strength to knock the big guy away. Next, he added Gomu Gomu no Gya Sumo and pushed Wano's strongest sumo wrestler off the ring. The force of the blow sent him flying straight into Hold'em's mansion, hitting the Sphinx's face. Episode 904. With the spirit of having just won the sumo match, Luffy continues to play the role of a samurai, holding his sword and charging forward. But every time he throws away the sword sheath, making Zoro look extremely annoyed. Okiku also helps because Zoro said he won't help her. Stop pretending to be crazy. Meanwhile, Peak has finished harvesting the crops at the Paradise Farm at the end of Bakura Town, and they paid the farmers in Okubor Town who worked here very little. On top of that, they weren't allowed to leave through the front door. Seeing his territory being destroyed, Hold'em finally came out to punish those who dared to disturb this place. He thought Luffy and his group were subordinates of a man named Sutamaru. That's why they dared to fight here, because this was the area ruled by Jack the Drought. Episode 905. Sotamaru, according to Hold'em, is the leader of the gang of thieves. It seems that Okiku knows something about this person. Recently, their farm has been robbed frequently, so Hold'em thinks that it is caused by the Atamayama group led by leader Sutamaru. As mentioned, this town is ruled by Jack the Han. Most people are afraid of the commanders because of Jack's reputation. Okiku does not know the situation in Dew Island, but she affirms that Jack is not dead because he appeared in Bakura Town a few days ago. At the same time, Peak brought the treasure ship carrying clean food back to the island. Meanwhile, the situation has come to this point. Thanks to the riot-making leopards, Law also had to wear a straw hat to fight and stop Hawkins. Back in the center, Luffy quickly punched the lion's teeth out to rescue Otama from its mouth. Zoro will take on the responsibility of robbing the food ship. Okiku and Zoro worked together to cut down the small fry subordinates and asked Komichio to pull the treasure ship away from here. Seeing the wound on Tama's cheek from being tortured, Luffy went crazy and threw a red hawk punch to burn the evil lion. This image reminded this little lady of Ace's figure back then. Episode 906. After defeating Hold'em, Luffy and Otama swerved away from the Sai's men. Then seeing that the saddle was so good, he jumped straight onto Speak to ride. Luffy came up with the idea of asking Otama to use the power he used with Hikarimaru before to tame Speak. When he ate Dango from her power, Speak immediately obeyed Otama. Although it had no effect on humans, it was probably because Speak was 50% animal that he was tamed. Now that they have horses, no one can catch up with them. Tama thinks that Luffy is very similar to Ace, but she doesn't say it anymore because maybe she respects her Aniki and secretly admits that Luffy is completely her second Aniki. Meanwhile, the cool appearance with a straw hat or trash can on his head to hide his identity, but when Law uses his ability with the tattoos on his arms, how can he hide it from people? Law threw a rock at Hawking, teleported, swapped, approached, and cut him in half. However, a henchman took the Mage's attack by taking a scapegoat. Any attack that hit this guy would be transferred to someone else. I think that to fight this guy, you have to kill the people who are with him first. If you attack Hawking like this, it won't have any effect when he is surrounded by scapegoats. With his straw sword, Law didn't twist to block the slash so Hawkins could cut his hat in half. Peak had brought Luffy and Otama onto the treasure ship, but they were still missing something important: clean water. So he came back to get it. Realizing Hawkins' ability, Law cut the henchmen in half and threw them away. Then he closed in and continued to attack, forcing him to defend. Hawkins completely knew Law and Luffy's intentions when they appeared here. He also informed Jack of the situation, and of course Kaido would not let these two kids do whatever they wanted. While they were talking, the mess caused by the Straw Hats ran past. So, having a plan, he had to jump on the boat and leave, leaving Hawkins bewildered. Episode 908, as said, Luffy turned back to get water. So he carried a jar or a basin or something and ran. Seeing the treasure ship coming, the people of Okobori were saved, from the elderly to the children. Everyone was extremely happy. The henchman ran out to prevent the people from touching the food. Before he could finish speaking, Luffy brought a whole basin of water from the sky and jumped down, crushing the henchman. No matter whose, Luffy will take full responsibility, enjoy the clean food and water. It's been a long time since the people have had such clean and delicious food. This is like the gods helping everyone. This action is Luffy's way of repaying Otama for what she did for him. Luffy promises that this is just the beginning. The day he leaves this kingdom, this will become a place where Tama will be able to eat well and drink clean water every day. With what they have caused, Law has no choice but to lead these new arrivals to the ruins of Oden Castle on top of that mountain. Speak will take Otama back to Amigasama village. As for the sword, Luffy asked to borrow it for a while, even though he didn't know how to use it. Law was visibly annoyed that he was already a pirate and still pretended to do good deeds. Okiku also asked to go with Luffy to Oden Castle to see for himself. When they got there, the first thing they did was meet the ghosts of Wano Island. Episode 909. On the way there, a one-eyed tiger attacks their group, so Zoro stays behind to play with it a bit. He already knows what happened on the mountaintop, so he has no interest in finding out more. Inside the town, an old monk feels indignant and angry at the education system here when they convey false history and view the Kozuki clan as demons, then revere Orochi as the country's hero. According to the owner of the bank, the Kurozumi clan named Kiyoshiro said that 2 years ago, when Oden Castle was burning, his wife said that 20 years later, the samurai themselves in the form of ghosts would appear to kill Orochi to avenge the clan. At that time, they would open a new Wano country. But Kurozumi asserted that 20 years ago, they cornered those samurai in the castle and burned them all alive. At the same time, Law led Luffy to the graves of the Kozuki clan members. Strangely, besides Oden's grave next to it, there were other familiar names. In order, they were Momonosuke, Reizo, Kenjuro, Kinmen. Okiku thought that everyone had died while Luffy was on the island, but suddenly Kinmen appeared from behind. He was having a stomachache, so he walked in a way that made people think he was a ghost. Okiku saw Kinmen and ran to hug him tightly, saying that he had finally returned. Now Okiku knew the true identities of Luffy and Law through the story of the Firefox. Momonosuke also appeared, happy for Luffy's return. Ino Arashi is also somewhere in this kingdom to prepare for the plan. Sanji's group has also arrived and gathered in full. This castle ruins will be the base of the alliance. Now Kinmen will continue to tell the secrets that he has not told them. The truth is Kinmen, Momonosuke, Okiku, Reizo, Kenjuro, the 5 of them all came from the past. That's right, they came from Wano Island 20 years ago, and they traveled to Luffy's era, 20 years later. Episode 910. What Kinmen just said is really hard for others to believe, but it's true. He is a person from the era 20 years ago, and they have traveled here. To be clearer, let's go back to Wano country 20 years ago to find out the truth. This is the castle built by Oden. The people love Oden-sama very much. Oden is the son of Kozuki Tsukizaki, a shogun of Wano country at that time. Shogun, everyone can understand as shogun or shogun. It is a high-ranking military title in Japanese history. Oden loved freedom and was passionate because of his often riotous nature, so he was expelled from the capital of Ho. For Oden, that place was too small and boring. At that time, Kuri was a lawless place. There, criminals and ronin who were expelled formed gangs. They robbed and killed each other every day. Oden came and quelled them with his martial arts prowess. The leader of the bandits at that time in Kuri appeared. His name was Ashura Doji. The two fought each other, and the winner was Oden. He then became the leader of the bandits. From then on, he taught the archers how to work, transformed the land into a town, and built a castle to create a paradise farm for everyone. Kuri became a free and vibrant place filled with laughter. And finally, Oden was also granted a title by the Shogun Sukiyaki himself. At that time, Oden was only 20 years old. He also created rivers and ports that connected other regions and people together. That day, when Inuarashi and Nakuma drifted here, only Oden did not see them as monsters. To the king of the day, Oden was like their savior. And now looking back, what Kaido did to this place is unforgivable. That day, Kaido and Kurozumi Orochi secretly cooperated to trap Oden. Wano Island gradually collapsed, and Oden was considered a sinner. He died as a criminal in the capital of Ho. Kinmen's group had no allies at that time, so they fled to Oden Castle. Nekomamushi and Inuarashi had something to say on the way, so they were captured by Orochi's subordinates. When they arrived, the castle was on fire. Momonosuke, his younger sister Hizuri, and Oden's wife Kozuki Toki were trapped in the castle. When Kinmen's group found the three of them, Lady Toki decided to stay and die with the castle and told everyone to leave for the future. She had been too far futures thanks to the strange power of the Toki Toki no Mi, and she finally stopped in this era. It's hard to believe, but it seems that the rumor that Toki was born in the past long ago is true. That means she's not from the same era as Oden. But she stopped traveling here to live with Oden. That's also the reason she decided to stay with this burning castle. And suddenly, her body was transferred to Wano country 20 years later. They were also surprised with the tombstones bearing their own names. So Lady Toki's ability to travel is real. Wano country is no longer the place they know. The history and reputation of the Kozuki clan were both changed and trampled upon. But even 20 years later, there were still many people who admired Oden and wanted to help the Kozuki clan. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more One Piece content. See you in the next episode recap.